Alrighty. So I just wanted to go over my code just really quickly to show you guys, since uh, we haven't posted up our code yet. I wanted to push this up with my code when I put it on the GitHub. This is from my presentation that we did. And so I just want to kind of go over it again, just to post up the code so you guys can understand what's going on. So I have my code, and here's the code that goes along with it. So the transitions and transformations, essentially to understand, transition is just is how you're going to make things happen. Well, it affects how it happens, I should say. Without transformation, it just either on paid load or whenever the pseudo selector, whenever the event happens, it just automatically happens if you don't have a transition. So, and as you can see, you have all these things happening, but there's a transition in there, and take off the transition really quick. So then if we reload, oh, I guess I should just go like this. So if you notice with the zero transition, and the default is 0. I'm not sure why I didn't do that, but the transition is 0. So as you can see, it's just instantaneous when it hovers. It's just doing its thing. And that can be beneficial for some things, but not for everything. But so the transition really affects how things happen. And so if you just want an instant change, then you don't want to use a transition. But the transitions are really not helpful for making things look good. So essentially, that's what the transition does. And there's several ways you can affect a transition. You can transition the transformation. So right here, you have the transform. You're saying what the transition is affecting, and then 2 seconds is how long the transition is going to take to do it. So say you have your different transformations, which I guess I should explain the transformations really quickly. So you have your translate, which just moves the thing, whatever it's doing. The scale, and you can translate. Here's the code for it. You have your different browser ones, and it's your X and Y moving pixels. So it's moving X and Y 100 pixels greater. You have your scale, where you have your X and Y for your scale. But say, I want to make this 3 times bigger on that side. You can see the X grows 3 times. Or if I want to make it smaller, I go 0.05, and it shrinks to 0.05, or you can do like say 0.75, whatever you do. As you can see, it's scaling. And as you can see, the transition is taking 2 seconds to do. So and you have these for the different years. And then we have our skew X, and it's 20 degrees skew, or your skew Y. Or if you're doing skew and you want to skew both, and so you have your skew X and skew Y. If you just want to do one, if you're doing both, you just put in skew and you do your X and your Y again. And then rotates along what's called the Z-axis, or if you were to put a pin around there, if this was a 3D object, then it would rotate around the Z-axis, or this if you just use rotate, it's considered a 2D rotation. But if you do rotate Z, then it's around the Z-axis. Rotate X Here's your rotate 90 degrees, your different syntaxes again, and then rotate X if you want to rotate around the X axis to flip it that way. Or you have your rotate Y to flip it that way. And then you have your different, and these are to show the different trends, how different translations, sorry, not transitions can affect. So you have those transformations, but the transitions are really what makes it look the way it does. You can, for example, delay it. Let's show you that. So this is 9. So this is going to hover, and then as you can see, it delays. So that's the delay is right here. And then you see it has the WebKit transition delay to do that. And then you also, or like if you wanted to say delay it for just 1 second, do that. I'll play for 1 second instead of 3. And or ease in. You can ease in is out. You just go to W3 schools right here, and you have your different speed curves, and it's with the transition timing function. You have ease linear, ease in, ease out, ease in and out in cubic. So you can just look at those ones that I needed to use all of them in this, but just to show you how to use it. So your transitions, as I said, affect how you're going to do it. Transitions you can either affect it with the transformation to affect the transformation, or you can actually just use it on different aspects of it. So in your transition, you can actually select different things. So this is transition. They're saying affect the transformation for 2 seconds. Take transformations 2 seconds to change. And so it'll affect just the transformations. We're going to change for 2 seconds. Well, what you can also do is say, I want to affect the width. This one you could do with a scale like that. But it also might just be effective to do you can change your width. So say width, I'm going to do, say 5 seconds. And then this translate one, we're going to change the width of that. We'll say width, when it gets hovered, it's going to change to, let's say, 50 pixels. So when it hovers, actually I got that right. Oh, that's why, silly me. Forgot the semicolon. Okay, so you see how it just instantly changes the width when you hover it? Or if you go back up here, see, I knew I was doing it right. I just didn't realize I missed the semicolon. So always those little mistakes you do, but you do the width in, say, 2 seconds as well. It changes in 2 seconds. So this, you could do that as the scale. So instead of doing scale, how we have the scale for this one, well, we want it twice as large. So instead of doing that, so instead of doing the scale, we say widths are 2 seconds and heights are 2 seconds. And we could say, and so we don't, instead of doing this twice as much, we could say we want the width, we want it to go to 300 pixels, so 50% more than what it originally is. We want that to go to 300 pixels as well. Well, let's say 325, 350. I want to make it slightly rectangular. So with this one, see how it's like that. And that compared to what it originally was. What I do like about this one though is that it keeps the position in place. So the scale or width, depending on how you want it to affect what you're doing. If you want it to position or stay scale is good, or if you're like wanting it to stretch just one way to the right or one way to the left, depending on how you have your positioning set. It will the width using the width and height transition will just affect the width and height, and it will go to how it would be, assuming that it's using the same positioning functions, whatever you're using. But the scale will keep will keep the center where it's located, and it will just grow. So scale is more like an animation, or the width and height will just kind of affect just as you're like a dynamic change. With the transition functions, yeah, so that will affecting the transition. So if you were to ease in and out, like it would not just grow constantly, but it would start to grow big slowly and then go big and small, or however whatever you're affecting, it's affecting whatever it's transitioning. So that's essentially the basics for these transitions and transformations. And I didn't go a whole lot over it during the team meeting because we went over animations, and this is pretty similar. But the example, and this is the code. This is code from my website. And you can see it's using these different things. But you see, I'm giving all transitions 0.5. And you can see I'm using a scale to when it's hovered over. But I'm also translating it. Just because I want it to move, not just, I wanted to kind of pop out, make it look more 3D. And so I wanted it to go to the left a little bit. But I actually do use this. I changed to demonstrate that. But here's an example. And this isn't I haven't made it mobile yet, so it doesn't do it too well. But this is how I had it for my production website. So you can do that. And this was for another class, so there's not a whole lot on here, but just doing that. And as you can see, as it's growing and hovering over that, those are because of the transitions and transformations that are on there. But as you saw before, with this one, to this. But yeah, if you have any questions, I'm going to put up this code up there onto GitHub so you guys can play with it. Hope this finds this helpful. All right. I will talk to you guys later. And hope you guys find this helpful. Bye.